Step into the darkness where reality blurs and nightmares come alive. I had always been a nature enthusiast, finding solace and peace among the towering trees and babbling brooks of the forest. From a young age, I would often spend hours exploring the woods near my home, my curiosity driving me deeper into the heart of the wilderness with each passing day. As I grew older, my love for nature only deepened, and I found myself drawn to the mysteries of the forest like never before. I spent countless hours researching ancient legends and folklore, fascinated by the tales of lost civilizations and hidden treasures that lay buried beneath the forest floor. So, when I finally decided to embark on a solo hiking trip deep into the heart of the wilderness, I did so with a sense of excitement and anticipation. I longed to immerse myself in the beauty of nature, to lose myself in the serenity of the forest and forget about the stresses of everyday life. Little did I know that my journey would lead me down a path far darker and more treacherous than I could have ever imagined. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth as I walked through the dense underbrush, my footsteps muffled by the soft carpet of fallen leaves. Rays of golden sunlight filtered through the canopy above, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor as I followed the winding trail deeper into the woods. Hours passed in blissful solitude, the only sound the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant cry of a bird. But as the sun began to sink below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest, I stumbled upon something that would change my life forever. Half buried beneath a tangle of roots and moss, I spotted a glint of metal, a strange, otherworldly artifact that seemed out of place amidst the natural beauty of the forest. Intrigued, I reached out to touch it, my fingers tingling with a strange sensation as they made contact with the cool metal surface. And then, in an instant, everything changed. A surge of power coursed through my body, sending shockwaves of agony shooting through my veins. I tried to pull away, to flee from the source of this unearthly force, but it was as if I were rooted to the spot, unable to tear myself away from the artifact's grip. As the pain subsided, I found myself standing before the artifact, my mind swimming with a maelstrom of emotions, fear, confusion, and a strange sense of exhilaration. It was as if something had awakened within me, a primal force that hungered for more. And then, with a deafening crack, the artifact split open, unleashing a blinding burst of light that consumed everything in its path. When the glare faded, I found myself staring into the empty void of the forest, my mind reeling from the intensity of the experience. But it was what happened next that filled me with dread. As I stumbled back from the artifact, my vision swimming with spots of light, I felt a presence, a malevolent force that seemed to seep into my very soul. It whispered dark promises of power and dominion, urging me to embrace its twisted embrace. And in that moment of weakness, I succumbed. From that day forward, I was no longer the person I once was. The artifact had awakened something ancient and primal within me, a hunger for power that could not be sated. It was as if a switch had been flipped deep within my psyche, unleashing a darkness that lurked within the depths of my soul. I became consumed by a darkness that seemed to seep into every fiber of my being, twisting and contorting my thoughts until they were no longer my own. It was a suffocating feeling, like drowning in a sea of shadows with no hope of resurfacing. One by one, I watched as those around me fell under the artifact's sway. Their once bright eyes dulled with a sinister gleam, their voices no longer their own as they spouted cryptic messages and whispered promises of power. They became puppets, slaves to the artifact's will, their once kind faces twisted into grotesque masks of terror and despair. As the forest echoed with their screams, I knew that I was to blame. I had unleashed a force beyond my comprehension, a force that reveled in chaos and destruction. It was a heavy burden to bear, knowing that my actions had led to such suffering and misery. But even as I stood on the brink of madness, a small part of me clung to hope that one day, I would find a way to rid myself of the artifact's curse, to free myself from its suffocating grasp. It was a dim flicker of light in the darkness, but it was enough to keep me going, to give me the strength to continue on despite the overwhelming odds stacked against me. Until then, I would wander the forest alone, a haunted soul consumed by the darkness that lurked within. And as the wind whispered through the trees and the shadows danced across the forest floor, I knew that my journey was far from over.